Here's the time Neil Patrick Harris stepped into the booth to be on Family Guy.
You know, Ted, don't you think it's kind of strange for a guy in his 20s to always be talking about getting married rather than getting laid?
Barney, I'm in love with you.
Suit up.
And here's the time Charlie Sheen randomly showed up to play Charlie Sheen.
Hey, what's the cast of 2.5 Men doing here?
Well, you're always saying our show sucks. Let's see yours.
Family Guy has had a whole bunch of different guest stars over the years, and some of them you'd never know were behind their characters. So today, I'm going to be going through different actors, musicians, comedians, and the occasional unexpected guest to see who's turned up out of the blue. Starting with actors and Robert Downey Jr. A lot of guest stars on the show usually opt for voicing themselves, so that if anything mean is said about them, at least they'll be saying it themselves. That's not the case with RDJ though, as he lends his voice to Lois's long-lost brother, Patrick.
Oh my God, Lois, I never thought I'd see you again.
These are my children.
Why do you live in a crazy house, Uncle Patrick?
That's a good question, Chris, and we'll get to that. But before we get into the episode, the reason why Robert Downey Jr. ended up voicing Patrick is because his son is a huge fan of the show. So he called into the producers to see if he could produce an episode or assist in any way, and that's when the writers came up with Patrick's character, who's in a crazy house after seeing this.
Mommy, can I have a drink of water? Jackie Gleason!
Beat it, kid. Your mother's busy. I'm gonna pow! Right in the kisser!
Lois thinks her brother shouldn't be locked away because sure, that's traumatizing, but it doesn't mean that you need to be away from society. So she volunteers to take Patrick out of the mental hospital.
Thank God I'm out of that hospital. It's great to be eating lunch with my family instead of a bunch of chronic masturbators.
Is it lonely up there on your pedestal, Patrick?
When Patrick meets Peter, things are strange to say the least, and it's made 10 times more frosty when Peter puts together a coalition for fat guys, which weirdly rubs Patrick up the wrong way.
Yeah, the Fat Guy Coalition.
Yeah, turns out Patrick is pretty affected by the stuff he saw as a kid. He hates fat people, and coincidentally, fat guys around the town start dying.
This just in, the body of a local fat man was found murdered in Quahog Park last night. Police released this sketch of the suspect.
And you know who else is fat? Peter. So that makes him the prime target for Patrick.
Finish this sentence uninterrupted.
Patrick, let him go!
Don't come any closer!
He eventually lets Peter go, and Lois threatens Patrick's imaginary friend, and they all agree that Patrick needs to go back to the mental hospital. That was the first and last time RDJ stepped into the booth to work on the show, but hey, at least he got to do something that impressed his son. The next surprising celebrity on our list is David Tennant, and it was to play the exact role you're thinking about. Over in the UK, there's a pretty famous show known as Doctor Who, and David Tennant played the titular doctor. In the episode Inside Family Guy, the show was parodied into Doctor Who Farted. So who else do they call upon to play the part but the man himself?
We can't go into the time machine right now.
But they're going to kill us all!
All right, just 1 second. So, how was your weekend?
At the time this aired, Tennant hadn't been playing the Doctor for 6 years, so to reprise his role for less than 9 seconds of screen time seemed pretty weird, but he's always been a fan of anything funny, and also at the time the British show wanted to branch out to an American audience, so they asked David to do them a favor. Think of it this way, he gets to have fun while introducing a new audience to something he cares about, but still, it's pretty surprising. The same can be said for fellow Brit, Hugh Laurie, who also brought back a famous doctor, Dr. Gregory House. Having to see House isn't usually a good thing, and it's not, for Carter anyway, who ends up having a heart attack after getting a little too excited.
Whoa! Oh, she's bendy. Oh, awesome! All right! Oh!
Oh my God!
And in typical House fashion, he lets the family know what's wrong with Carter while dishing out a subtle burn.
Is my father gonna be okay, Dr. House?
He's in a coma, Mrs. Griffin. Listening to the sound of your voice, I'd say he's the lucky one.
The writers of Family Guy couldn't cast Hugh Laurie to play House without parodying the show just a tiny little bit.
Dr. House, if you're gonna save this patient, you'll need this.
Get this thing out of my sight!
Wait a second, how are you gonna play by the rules if you don't have the rule book?
And that's just the beginning.
My methods are a little unorthodox, Mr. Griffin, and I think I can help.
What are you doing?
Sometimes people fake being in a coma. This man's not. The first punch knocked him out, in which case we won't know for some time. House.
Roadhouse.
Carter ends up living thanks to Dr. House's unusual methods, or more like Carter's bank account got him out of this pickle. But anyway, on the face of it, you'd assume that hiring the guy to play a character he actually played isn't that surprising, but Hugh Laurie hasn't been that kind about House in the past. I know, this episode of Family Guy aired 2 years before House ended, but clearly the guy wasn't that hot on the character. Then again, Laurie used to be a comedian, so maybe the absurd parody of something he'd taken so seriously is something he liked. Talking about absurd parodies, that reminds me of the time Ben Stiller voiced himself on the show. And when I say himself, I mean it. There's no character work going on here, but there's something special about this version of Ben, alright. I wonder if you can spot what that is.
But how can you leave me now, Ben Stiller, when I need you more than ever?
I've taught you everything you need to know, Peter.
Jeez, I bet he can hear people's thoughts with those babies. If he ran really fast, I'd reckon he'd take flight. Well, it's funny I should mention that.
His movies are terrible.
Ben's never really mentioned why he decided to randomly voice a 20-second parody of himself that actually went uncredited. I guess it's because he's a good sport, and like with RDJ from earlier, if anyone's gonna poke fun at him, he might as well be in on the joke. The next surprising voice actor on our list is none other than Sopranos star Tony Sirico. He joined the regular cast in 2013 after the writers decided it was time to pull the plug on the character of Brian.
Brian, look out!
The family tries to save Brian, but it's no good, and they've all got to say their goodbyes.
Brian, no!
I can't believe it. You're really...
Damn it, Brian, you can't die. We were going to do so many things together. We were going to become windsurfers.
After having a funeral for him, the family figures out that a home isn't a home without a dog, so go looking for a new member of the Griffin family, and that's where they stumble upon Vinny.
Vinny.
Oh, Vinny, like the poo. So what's your story?
I'm just a regular guy. You throw a stick, maybe I bring it back. Maybe I bring back an iPhone that fell off a truck. So what do you say? You want me as your dog?
Peter takes a shine to Vinny, and just like that, the wisecracking mutt is a part of the family. Although poor Brian died like a day ago or something, and they're already replacing him. And Peter clearly doesn't care.
Oh, boy, Vinny, hanging out with you has been the best. You want another beer?
No. I'd love one.
The first thing you said was...
Vinny only stuck around with the family for a couple episodes because Stewie realized there's a way he could bring Brian back. At this point in the series, Stewie's time machine return pad is broken, so he couldn't go back to the past and stop Brian from getting hit by a car. But while in the mall with Vinny, he notices someone familiar.
That boy is me. Of course, it's me from the past. Several months ago, I time-traveled ahead to purchase that Christmas toy.
So if Stewie can get past Stewie's pad, he can save Brian. Problem is, you can't really go up to yourself and ask for it, so Vinny volunteers to try and get past Stewie to take off his backpack.
But I feel like the backpack might be hiding some figure flow.
Ah, well, that is where you are wrong, my friend.
With the pad now in Stewie's possession, he can go back and save his best buddy. But that means that Vinny will never have been adopted by the family and that he'll be back stuck in the pet store. But he takes it as a champ and agrees anyway.
Good dog, Vinny. Good dog.
Georgette, I'm coming home.
Who the hell is Georgette?
Which means Stewie heads back to the past to make Brian the only dog in the family.
Brian, look out! What the hell? You're alive, my friend!
I guess given a wisecracking mobster actor, a wisecracking mobster character isn't that surprising, but Tony Sirico is a pretty left-field name to join the main cast of characters. The whole idea came from Seth MacFarlane's love of The Sopranos, and when they approached Sirico, he liked the idea of doing something funnier with his mobster rep than, organized crime. Plus, the fact that Brian was killed off out of nowhere probably adds to that surprise. Speaking of funny, our next surprising voice actor knows a thing or two about that, Mr. Will Ferrell. And I know what you're probably thinking. He came in and voiced himself being Anchorman or a cutaway gag about Step Brothers. Nope. Will's most famous performance on the show came in Season 3's Mr. Saturday Night as the Black Knight of the Quahog Renaissance Fair, where he literally saves Peter's life.
Somehow ended up at the Renaissance Fair.
Oh my god!
From that day on, Peter always wanted to become a proper knight like his hero, so Peter enrolls to jouster tryouts to see if he's got what it takes, but it's not entirely fun. It's more like being in the army.
Well, if you're gonna joust, you gotta want it. Let me hear your war cry. Is that the best you got, you pile of crap?
Yes.
While undergoing training, Peter is once again reunited with the infamous Black Knight.
Welcome, apprentices.
It's him.
Please allow me to introduce the best of the best, the Black Knight himself.
And Peter just can't hide how big of a fan he is of the guy.
Excuse me, Mr. Black Knight?
I'm busy.
Oh, well, I just wanted to thank you. You helped me get my life back on the right path.
Damn it! Look, I'm busy, all right?
Oh, okay, I'll come back later.
I'm getting bad vibes from this guy, and it only gets worse when Peter talks to his wench.
What were you doing with my girl?
She walks over here, asked me to put a bird in her panties. I'm standing here going, what the hell?
Oh God, Peter, play dead.
I guess they say never meet your heroes for a reason.
What's the problem, BK?
I don't like your face, and I don't like you hanging around my girl. I don't ever want to see you here again.
But okay, so we can see each other outside the fair, right? I'm just trying to understand the rules here.
If I see you again, I'll kill you.
Okay, that's much clearer.
Oh God, I think I just miscarried.
Peter, what are you doing?
I quit the team.
the big meat is today, and I thought you were...
Did you just say big meat?
Oh, my God, I did. But I'm being serious here, Peter. You were so excited to be on the same field as the Black Knight.
Well, I'm gonna be watching it from the stands, Lois, because the Black Knight is just a big jerk.
Peter gives up the idea of being a knight and decides he'll just watch the jousting final and call it quits, but when the Black Knight calls him out again, he has enough and gets suited to joust his hero.
Oh my God, I'm gonna die!
To the owner of a yellow Hyundai, your car is being towed.
I won!
Peter wins and humiliates the Great Black Knight. He gives up the jousting game again and goes home to his family, not wanting to be anything like his hero. I think this is a fairly surprising one, mainly because there will be people watching the show now who didn't even know Will Ferrell gave his voice to a character. Plus, the show is only in its third year and Ferrell was a huge name at the time, so considering it wasn't advertised more is super surprising to me. But then again, I think it's cool that it's more low-key. The opposite of low-key, though, is when Drew Barrymore joined the cast in 2005. Now, I'm sure some of you Family Guy superfans are thinking that she joined the cast much earlier, and she did. She was originally the voice of Chris's school teacher, Mrs. Lockhart.
What do you see here, Chris?
2 D's and an F.
But a season later, Drew would lend her voice to a completely new character, Jillian. You know, Brian's now serious girlfriend who he's keeping away from everyone, and Stewie wants to know why.
Let me ask you something. Does she have an alibi? For what? Why would she need an alibi? So you're saying she does not have an alibi? Well, no. So we've established she ain't got no alibi. She ugly. U-G-L-Y. She ain't got no alibi.
After days of pestering him, Brian finally agrees to let Stewie meet Jillian, and he can't believe he's been keeping her a secret.
So, you gonna take back what you said?
Brian, she's stunning.
Okay, you met her. You can scram now.
Why in the world would you be embarrassed about dating her?
Stewie's about to find out exactly why.
Oh my God, Brian! I was watching something on TV about this guy named Hitler. Somebody should stop him.
Are her parents brother and sister? Can you please leave now?
Considering Brian thinks he's some genius, he can't take Stewie constantly ribbing him over Jillian, so he decides he's gonna cut the cord and break up with her. But when he heads over to finish with her, his instincts get the better of him.
Well, Jillian, there's something we need to talk about.
What is it?
I, just wanted to spend some time with you.
Oh, hell no!
What the hell? It took you 3 hours to break up with her?
Not exactly.
So Brian and Jillian end up dating for the rest of season 5. It does come to an end in the next season thanks to Brian being a complete idiot, but we don't need to get into that. I think what's surprising about Drew giving Jillian her voice is that she becomes a pretty consistent, reoccurring character, and committing that much time to a role is huge for someone like Drew Barrymore. The same can be said for Sam Elliott. But before we get into his character, you guys remember that for the longest time, Adam West was the mayor of Quahog? Well, in 2017, he sadly passed away, so the writers over at Family Guy needed to not only kill off his character, but also get a new mayor for the town. Well, that's where Sam Elliott comes in, as he gives his voice to the character of Wild Wild West, Adam West's cousin, and Peter wants him to run for office. I can see why. If you can take care of a mustache like that, you can surely take care of a town. Peter tracks down this cavalier cowboy and tries to get him to follow in his cousin's footsteps.
I'm from Quahog, Rhode Island, where your cousin Adam West was our mayor for many years. And since I was thinking heaven, but okay, sure.
Beautiful country, Duluth. The air moves into your nostrils like a welcome guest.
After that ramble, Wild starts to mull over the idea of running for office, but he doesn't want to give up his good life as a mustache wrangler.
I appreciate you coming all this way, Peter, but I can't be your mayor.
But Wild West, we need you.
I'm sorry. You get home safe now.
But I guess after Peter left, he did some more thinking and thought that maybe life as a mayor wouldn't be so bad after all.
He came.
So he sets out with Peter's help to put together a campaign to take over Quahog, but will it pay off?
Quahog's new mayor is Wild West. With a final vote of 43 to 19, it's clear that no one really cared. Nice job, guys.
Well, kinda. But anyway, he's the town's new mayor, and to kickstart his new regime, he invites everyone to his ranch for some songs around the campfire.
Arizona moon, keep shining from the desert sky above.
Originally, the writers had planned for Sam Elliott to play himself, the same way Adam West did, but when they approached Sam with that idea, he quickly turned it down, as he wanted to do something character-led. So they brainstormed and came up with Wild Wild West, and he loved the idea. He was also the show's #1 choice to replace Adam West, considering Sam's super unique voice, and, well, he was also in Roadhouse. Another surprising guest that I think we should cover is Jennifer Love Hewitt. Most of the time, guest stars are celebrities in their own right within the show. They play one-off characters or someone totally different to who they are. Well, Jennifer does play herself, but with one difference.
This is our niece, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Nice to meet you.
All right, I'm getting up.
Yep, she's Mort and Muriel's niece. In this ep, Peter's going through a rough time in his marriage, so Mort sets him up with Jennifer, but he doesn't even recognize her.
Devil and Daniel Webster?
Nope.
Party of 5?
Was that a porno? Hey, don't worry about it. Sometimes you gotta do a lot of crap before they put you in anything decent.
Plus, he's not exactly attractive.
You ordered a pie for an appetizer?
Oh yeah, don't worry. I'll go to the John and fire one out in about 5 minutes. That should make some room for dinner.
While Peter and Jennifer are eating dinner, Lois arrives at the same restaurant with Quagmire, and she can't believe Peter's on a date with someone like Jennifer in the first place.
Oh, the food here is fantastic. This is where I took Lois on our first date.
But he doesn't listen to Lois's advice and completely ruins things with Jennifer.
Go, sweetheart.
No!
There you go. Isn't this romantic?
That's it. You have got to be the most vile, disgusting human being I've ever met.
Well, not exactly.
And I have never been more turned on in my life.
Hold on, Toots. I don't care what our therapist says. I'm not gonna stand by and watch my husband lock lips with another woman now. Beat it!
Oh, don't get on the wrong side of Lois. She can give anyone a good beat down, physically or verbally.
And I only saw heartbreakers on a plane. And a flight was delayed, so the headphones were free.
I don't think I'd be offending Jennifer by saying she's not the most well-known celebrity in the world. Granted, when this aired in 2001, it was only 5 years after I Know What You Did Last Summer, but still, you wouldn't think that she'd appear as a big guest star. But then again, the show literally parodies that in her episode, so I think it was just a chance for the show to be with pop culture, poke fun at it, and allow Jennifer to have some fun. That's the actors covered. Now it's time to see what surprising musicians and comedians have stepped into the booth over the years. And first up is British roastmaster Ricky Gervais. Ricky makes his Family Guy debut in the episode Be Careful What You Wish For, where he plays the character of the talking dolphin, Billy Finn.
Well, I'm Peter, and that's Joe, and that's Quagmire.
Name's Billy. Billy Finn's got Finn in it. I didn't pick it. Luck of the draw.
The reason why Peter and the guys are out on the ocean is because they're booking to try and fish for a sunken Mercedes-Benz, and seeing as Billy can drive down no problem, he offers to get the car ornament for them.
Sorry, mate. All I could get was this hood ornament.
This is just as good. Thank you so much. Hey, you know, if there's ever anything I could do for you...
You could do something. You could eat only dolphin-safe tuna.
No, I can't do that. Things ain't so good in America right now, which is why we're all so fat.
Well, it turns out there's something Peter can do for Billy, and no, it's not giving him a fish or a plastic ball to juggle with.
You know, if there's ever anything I can do, yeah.
Oh.
Thought I might make a go of it on land. So anything you can ever do, here I am. Thank you.
Yep, Billy wants to live with Peter and the family for a while until he loses his sea legs, but having a dolphin around the house isn't exactly normal. Like, look at how he eats his food.
Lois, he is our guest. Toss it in the air.
I'm used to a little applause. So.
And he's pretty intrusive during bath time, too.
You're stooling? What, you gotta do that in here?
Where else am I supposed to do it? I can't just do it on the floor, can I? You'd be all like, ooh, who left this coil of rope on the floor?
But I gotta take a bath.
Go on then. We're both men.
Well, all right, I guess.
There you go. Oh, look at that. Solar eclipse, blocking the sun. Do not look directly at it.
Peter and the family are starting to get real sick of Billy, and he's been living there for a few weeks now, so surely he's paid back his debt for a little ornament. So Peter goes to try and talk Billy into leaving, but he promises Peter a second ornament, and Peter can't resist letting him stay a little while longer, even if his jokes are insufferable.
We really need to talk about making some new arrangements.
Oh, do we? Is this because there's some kind of problem with the hood ornament?
No, it's fine.
Oh, good. It dawned on me that the only thing better than you having one of them...
Peter learns the reason why Billy's been wanting to leave the water is because he's fallen out with his wife, so Peter decides he's going to try and get them back together.
He's here because he loves you, and he wants to patch things up. Hey, how come you ain't got boobs? You like a runner or something?
Who's this, then?
He's just a friend trying to help.
Billy, I don't care what you or your fat friend here has to say. It's over.
Oh...
Trying being the important word here. Let him have a second one.
It was just a dumb plan my buddies and I put together because we know how much Billy loves you, and he misses you very much. Just give him another chance. And if you won't do it for me, do it for Fish Jesus.
And it works. Billy and Joanne patch things up, and Peter now lives in a dolphin-free home. Ricky was said to have been thrilled when he was invited to voice Billy on the show, as he's been a fan of Family Guy since it first hit the air. Ricky isn't really known for his voice acting work because when he's not roasting celebrities or doing stand-up, he's usually writing comedy shows, and although Billy was pretty annoying, I think Ricky showing up in Family Guy is pretty nice, if not a little surprising. Well, we've had a comedian, now it's time for a musician, and this one sure is surprising. It's Ariana Grande. Obviously, she's famous for singing, but Ariana got her first big break as an actor, so doing voice acting isn't that far off. But when you're known super well for one thing, I'm sure a few people have been caught off guard when she appeared in the episode Mom's the Word, and you'd never think that it was her.
Sorry, I stole that from the Italian family next door. They've been going at it all night.
Dad, can I have $5?
for lunch tomorrow?
Yeah, sure. Just let me go check my room full of gold and jewels.
You see, every first thing he says is not the real thing.
She doesn't even appear on screen, which is pretty crazy for a star of her size. But then again, this was in 2014, she didn't really get big until later that year, and as you know, these episodes are recorded well in advance. So anyway, Ariana isn't the only musician who's had a pretty small role in the show, so has Jason Mraz. This one's pretty obscure, so if you don't know who Jason Mraz is, I apologize, but he was a pretty popular singer back in the noughties, and apart from his voice, Mraz was also famous for wearing a pretty goofy hat. And that's exactly what the writers of Family Guy bring him in to talk about.
Oh my God, you're Jason Mraz!
No, I'm not. I'm just some guy with a hat.
Yeah, that's who Jason Mraz is!
Obviously, that is Jason Mraz voicing that guy, but in the credits, he's actually down as some guy with hat. I think it's just a fun way of getting your name out there and showing people you can take a joke, but it's not like Jason Mraz is a household name. Sorry, Jason. Someone else who doesn't mind taking a small part to get his name out there is the comedian Bobby Lee. You guys might know Bobby best from his podcast with fellow comedian Andrew Santino, but Bobby's been on the comedy scene for decades and has actually been on Family Guy. We see him voice a sharply dressed Asian man in the episode Business Guy.
You look very nice.
What else? What about my shoe?
They're nice too.
How you think my house smell?
Not oniony.
You good, man. I pat you on the head and feed you from the hand.
He's only in the episode for a few seconds, but Bobby makes an impression, I guess you could say. When you do some digging, Bobby's actually been involved in loads of big projects. He even voiced a character a few years before this over on American Dad. As good as Bobby is, there's no comparison in terms of comedic quality to the next surprising voice actor on our list, Norm Macdonald. So, who does Norm voice? Himself? A talk show host? Maybe a scumbag actor? Genie? Nope, he voices Death. And he makes his debut in the episode Death is a after Peter has a health scare.
Which one is Peter Griffin?
He is.
Peter refuses to be taken by the Grim Reaper and tries to make a break for it, and as Death tries to catch up with him, he accidentally hurts his ankle.
Think I can catch you? Ah, my ankle! Ah! Yeah, listen, don't help or anything. I'm totally fine.
It must be embarrassing being outran by Peter Griffin. Anyway, Death asks the Griffins if he can stay on their couch for a while until his ankle heals, and that means one thing. Peter isn't going to die.
Peter, don't you see? As long as he's here, you can't die.
Go on.
That's it.
Wait a minute, so no matter what I do, I won't die?
But with Death out of action, that means it's not just Peter who's immortal, but everyone. While Peter's been telling the world they can't die, Death has been talking to Lois and he decides he's gonna let Peter live, but before that, he tells Peter that he's gotta step in his grim shoes to keep the world order.
You have to be Death.
His first task is to take down the kids from Dawson's Creek on a plane full of people. Peter doesn't want to hurt innocent people, but he makes a pretty big mistake.
Probably should have worn mittens.
Nice going, fat.
Hey, I was just trying to save your lives. Now you're all gonna die.
Thanks to an air stewardess, the plane manages to land without a hitch, and Death isn't happy.
You said you wanted everyone to know the rules of death apply, and now the whole world does.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, my ankle's starting to feel better.
Oh, but you just got here. We can stay in touch, can't we? Oh, what's your email?
With his ankle better, Death hits the road, never to be seen again. Well, that's a lie. He does make multiple cameos throughout the years, but not with Norm as the voice. He was meant to take up the role again, but had a few scheduling conflicts with another show. Since then, the role has been filled by Adam Carolla. He does a good job, but he's no Norm Macdonald. We've had a look at actors, comedians, and musicians, but now let's turn our attention to some guests that were a little more left field. Starting with the all-star director, David Lynch. Now, if you didn't know, David's pretty picky about the stuff he works on. He famously turned down the role of voicing Bill Cipher on Gravity Falls, but for whatever reason, he decided to accept the offer of playing Gus the bartender who we first meet in the episode, The Splendid Source. Peter and the gang are trying to figure out the source of every dirty joke, and that leads them to a familiar mustached face.
Oh, I remember that. I heard it from that guy.
Cleveland?
Hey, fellas.
Holy crap, who knew we'd run into you here, except everyone if Fox ruined it in the promos.
The role of Gus isn't actually for Family Guy. He was a recurring character in the Cleveland show, and that only makes the entire thing even more crazy. It's said that the reason he said yes to voicing Gus is because Mike Henry, the voice of Cleveland, reached out to him personally. You know, as opposed to going through agents and stuff. Another surprising guest star on Family Guy is none other than the science whiz Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's had a few pop-up appearances throughout the show, but my favorite example comes from the episode Prescription Heroin, where Lois goes on a crazy folding spree.
I'm gonna fold you nice.
And she don't stop there. is where the main man makes an appearance to obviously let the audience know that what Lois is doing isn't possible. Or is it?
Hello, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. What Lois just did isn't possible, or is it? Let's spend an hour of Fox's money to find out.
Seeing a pretty smart science mind like Neil's in a pretty unrealistic show like Family Guy has gotta be surprising. But then again, the science behind multiverses and time travel was pretty cutting edge back in the day. Family Guy were doing that stuff before Rick and Morty. Plus, I think Neil and Seth have a pretty tight bond. Plus, I think he's just got a good sense of humor and wants to keep science and pop culture. And you can't get much more pop culture than the next celebrity who appeared on the show, Rob Gronkowski. Well, I guess you can because he's retired, but you get my point. When the episode Gronkowski's aired, Rob was just about to be the starting tight end in a Super Bowl win in 2017. So he was peak pop culture then. In the episode he stars in, there's an empty house on Spooner Street and Rob moves into it.
Did you guys see?
Oh my God, that was Rob Gronkowski!
The guys are pretty big Patriots fans, so are super starstruck by their new neighbor.
What's up, butt munchers?
That's us. He called us butt munchers.
Gronk invites the guys around one of his house parties, and this guy knows how to cut loose.
I don't know. Want to see me dance?
Well, no, I asked because sometimes you're being covered by a little guy, and then you and Brady will look at each other, and am I supposed to touch you? What am I doing here?
Oh, I'm sorry, bro. What was the question?
Or something like that, anyway. Gronk's constant partying might sound like fun at first, but it's not long before Peter's getting pretty annoyed by his new noisy neighbor.
Still going?
Peter, this is exactly what I told you would happen. Not so much fun anymore, is it?
Oh, thank God. Maybe they're wrapping it up.
Peter goes over to Gronk's house to tell him to cut the music, but he doesn't listen, so Peter figures he's got to find a way to get Gronk to leave Spooner Street entirely. He doesn't have to worry about it for long, though, as Stewie's been making some honey from steroid bees, and they target Gronk's house.
Holy crap! There's a ton of them! Start up the party bus! We're moving! Bees! And they're showing Blitz! We gotta leave on 2!
Well, that was easy. Gronk hits the road and is never seen in Quahog again. Gronk himself, like I'm talking about the actual guy now, has got a pretty good sense of humor, and his party Gronk Nation reputation is a pretty big one, so I can see why he'd want to poke fun at that. Plus, he'd appeared in stuff like the WWE before, so he's really no stranger to playing a character that's basically himself. But it is kind of surprising that he's as good of a voice actor as he is. I guess he's just a man of many talents. Just like the next celeb on our list, Steph Curry. Steph is obviously a world-class basketball player, but he's also a super talented golfer and apparently a good voice actor too. We see him take to the screen in Passenger Fatty 7 when Peter and the guys visit San Francisco.
Oh my God, Steph, I'm such a big fan!
Thanks, it's nice to meet you.
Hey, I know we just met. Can I sit on your lap during your next post-game press conference?
Sure, I don't see why not. To be just 4 games away from the championship.
Dad, I do.
The team's not just gonna go away, though. We've got to stay focused.
Fat lady! Dad, the fat lady!
Yeah, I see her, Peter. That's not how we talk to people.
Make her go!
I'll leave.
Yay, I'm learning bad lessons.
Steph doesn't get a full episode like Gronk, but at least it's somewhat memorable. The cutaway parodies the same thing Steph did with one of his kids during a post-match press conference, so that's pretty cool. Plus, he's on record as being a pretty big fan of the show, and the writers needed San Franciscan references, so it turned out to be a perfect storm. But I doubt anyone had a Steph Curry appearance on their season 15 Family Guy bingo card. The next entry on our list is actually a double whammy, and you'll see why. Let's take a look at Fred Savage and Rush Limbaugh. In the episode Foxy Lady, we see what we think is Rush Limbaugh coming out of Michael Moore's house.
Unless, oh my God, it's true. Michael Moore is gay with Rush Limbaugh. And I just laid in dog poop.
That's not dog poop. Sorry, we've been out here a long time.
Lois does some more digging as she's now working with Fox News, and she keeps seeing Rush coming and going from Moore's house, so she goes for a closer look.
I am Rush Limbaugh. That's a costume.
Wait a minute, you mean all these years Rush Limbaugh has just been Michael Moore in disguise?
That's when Michael Moore comes clean to Lois and reveals himself as...
Well, after the Wonder Years, I was hungry to do more acting, but the pickings were slim. I came up with this scheme to satisfy my need to perform, and I guess it got a little out of hand.
That's right, Fred Savage. Turns out he's just creating characters and has done a lot of them.
I'm also Tony Danza, Cameron Manheim, Malcolm Jamal Warner, and Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich.
Fred Savage is the greatest actor in the history of the world.
That's all I ever wanted people to know.
Well, if you let us run this story, I promise you they will.
Fred decides to give up the character craze. Clearly things had gotten out of hand, so that means no more Rush Limbaugh. Well, not entirely, because Rush actually does appear again on the show in the season 9 episode Excellence in Broadcasting, where Brian goes to meet him during the book signing, and this time he's voiced by himself.
And you've been divorced several times.
It's valid points you're raising, my friend, and I respect you for raising them, but may I ask you a question?
Okay.
Have you ever read anything I've written?
Brian doesn't like the guy, but that all changes when Rush steps in to help him from a gang ambush. Brian decides he'll give Rush a chance and reads his book. Turns out Brian loves it and thinks being a conservative Republican is the way forward, so he starts hanging out with Rush to learn the ropes and meet some people.
Hey, John. Hey, I'd like you to meet my friend Brian. John McCain.
Gosh, it sure is a pleasure, Mr. McCain. How do you two know each other?
Brian becomes obsessed with Rush and is just as insufferable now as he was as a liberal, and it starts rubbing Lois up the wrong way.
I guess we can forget that whole global warming myth.
Global warming is not a myth, you son of a...
Look, what the hell are you so hostile for?
Because you brainwashed our dog.
There's trouble in paradise, though, as Brian goes too far right with his politics and accuses Rush of being a softie.
My problem? Right now, my problem seems to be that I am talking to a Pelosi lover.
What?
You love Pelosi.
You know what? It's time for you to go.
Hey, fine. I don't have to sit here and waste my time with a softie.
Brian gets kicked out of the house, and then he tries to attack Nancy Pelosi and ends up being sent to jail. Rush appears to bail him out because he's got some hard truth for Brian.
You're not really a conservative.
That's not true. I am conservative. I support the death penalty to show people that killing is wrong.
Hey, Brian, look, I make a living persuading others to join my side. But I'd never, ever want somebody to be something they're not.
Man, it didn't take Rush long to see through Brian's act. Despite obviously being on different ends of the political spectrum, Rush is actually a pretty good friend of Seth's, and he could hardly miss out on a chance at reaching a much bigger audience. Plus, he also loved the message of following politics, which really means something to you, not just doing something for popularity or because you should. I'm not sure which one of these guests is the most surprising. I'll leave that one up for you guys to figure out. But what I do know is, Family Guy sure has had a lot of interesting casting choices for their characters. If you want to check out some more surprising videos like this one, then give the video on screen now a click, and I'll see you right on over there. As always, thank you for watching.